Assalamu alaikum. I was talking about the diagnosis, the starting point of stuck addiction as it presents across cultures in its many forms. A singular spiritual disease, metaphysical disease, presenting in finance addiction, work addiction, alcohol and illicit drug addiction, sex addiction, a tsunami wave of difficulties for couples and individuals as people access material on the internet that they would never normally walk into a shop and buy, causing psychological disturbances. And all of these forms are presenting as an existential symptom of great difficulty, and the dots are not being joined up in terms of understanding what's going on. Now, I use the word stuck addiction to try to help flag up where the stuckness is occurring, and I'll try briefly to describe that within a spectrum of normal and healthy problem solving as it occurs across mankind, and it depends upon a root word, diction, D-I-C-T-I-O-N. Now, this is a very interesting word, and upon this word diction really depends the future of our common situation. This word has one suffix and 6 prefixes. A suffix is something that goes on the end of a word, and a prefix is something that goes on the front. So the suffix that goes on diction is A-R-Y, which turns the word into dictionary. And everybody has a personal dictionary, and cultures have a collective dictionary, and it's to do with meaning. So that when a person speaks or listens, there is a filter, an almost instantaneous filter of checking and rechecking that goes on within a person's dictionary to try to make sense and orientate. So to get to the prefixes, if a problem comes along for an individual, let's start with an individual, the problem is assessed, and experience is looked at, the dictionary is looked at, colleagues are checked with, and certain predictive pathways will present themselves. So the prefix PRE, what happens before, is PRE, and a predictive pathway is chosen. As soon as a predictive pathway is chosen, the next prefix comes in, which is male, M-A-L-E, which means bad. And it is the adversarial opposition that checks and balances the work as we try to move through our predictive pathway. We then move to the next prefix, AD, which is Latin for movement to or towards. So then you get addiction, and we addict ourselves to the problem-solving process. So if someone's got an essay to write, a student, and it's game on, an external observer would think there's something wrong with that person. Their normal behaviour is arrested. The phone isn't answered, the door isn't answered, friends aren't connected with, sometimes food is missed, and everything is switched on to solving this problem. There is an addiction, a healthy addiction to solve a problem. Then you go through the diction chamber, the internal diction chamber, where the dictionary is, meaning is expanded, the problem starts to be solved if it's the right predictive pathway, and a person moves through that, and then the problem is solved, and the next prefix comes in, which is bene, which means good, and the benediction flushes back through the system. The bene meets the male, the bene, which means good, meets the male as an antidote, and the inevitable malediction is neutralized, and there's an antidote. And then you get the next prefix, which is vale, V-A-L-E, which means goodbye. A valediction, the problem is said goodbye to, and we can move on. Now, the prefix that hasn't been mentioned in that little scenario is a very important prefix, contra, which means against. Now, as well as the malediction in normal problem solving, the contradictions are taking their effect as well as you're dealing with the internal processes and the external processes of gaining knowledge and information and moving through a problem. You're working sometimes with contradictory energies and flows and people. Now, in a sick situation, what happens is very interesting, and I'll talk about that in the next video. So that's a beginning, and so bye-bye for now, and salam.